Today, Dave Yoder opens the doors of his Indiana workshop. This is where precision, patience, and hardwood come together. He'll show us the tools and techniques behind building the best Amish office and living room furniture. In this shop, every board has a purpose. Come on in.
We actually have a tester to test the wood, and we test every pack of lumber that comes in just for our own safety. It's very important that the guys that dry the material, that they dry it in a slow manner and so that the boards are all evenly dries, and the moisture is at about 8 to 10%, not over 10%. If it varies too much, then we know that it needs to go back, and they can re-dry it. We like to be in control of our own operation, so it really makes a difference which region you buy your wood. Like your Pennsylvania cherry is a really good cherry. Then you go to maple. It really makes a difference on the soil where the tree is growing. If you got a light soil, the white maple will be better. If you go to a heavier soil, the maple will be more brown. The minerals are coming through the tree. And you also kind of try to sort the quality, so that when you're doing a rustic hickory or some kind of a rustic, he tries to look at where some of the knots and characters and just try to make so that they're not all the knots on one side, and then at two different times when they kind of sort to get that all in the right spot. So once we're done here, we'll take this cart load, he'll load it up, and we'll take it over to the next gentleman over here, and then I'll explain kind of what happened after that. This saw has got two moving blades, and when we put it up close to the saw, it's got an eye that will see what the yield it can get out of it. Those blades move to make the best yield, so we lose minimum wood. And it'll actually cut to where those red lines are. So the operator has to position it where the red lines are so that it gets, and then you'll see it on the other side coming out. So there you see how he got that red eye looking. So that also tells him where the blade's gonna go. And then it's a return conveyor, so we want to walk through here at the board coming back on it. What we try to do is color and grain match kind of. When he done cutting, he makes sure all the cuts are clean. It's no little gap in the wood. And then he also tries to lay out boards, he looks for color, and then he puts it back and forth, whatever looks the best as far as even. You can take quality wood and make a panel not as great looking if you don't sort it, because what he's cutting from might be from two different boards, and then we need to kind of make sure the look of it kind of flows. Especially like your white maples and stuff, we try to watch for drains so that everything looks like it kind of flows together. When you're doing like a calico hickory, you have your brown and your white. So we try to do the white and the brown so that it looks like it flows. It's not just mixing it together. And those are little details that when you're working with wood, people might think it's just a cookie cut thing. The beauty of this is nature is never a cookie cut thing. It's something that there's no one board same to the next. And that's some of the beauty of this is, you're not gonna get something that's just perfect. Every grain is the same. And I think if we would all know a little bit more what goes into the process from cutting the tree to gluing up a panel, we'd have a lot more forgiveness. They tried to do the white and the white together, so not the brown and the whites. So this has got the cutter head in the front, then a sanding head, and then another sanding head. It's got two different grips. One kind of just sands it a little bit, and then the next one, it's like the final sanding. and it's also got a cushion underneath the sanding pad to make it nice, smooth. That helps. And then we also have our lights. Well, normally we'll have one person here taking off, and he can look for any defects. So that if there's defect coming out now, we can bring it back and cut it out, just redo the panel again. These are live edge tops that we're doing right now. So that's why we got a little bit of a mark here on the end. But it's done on purpose. I believe he's gonna do it again. He's gonna do the bottom side. They've got like art patterns. Some of our furniture, they've got posts, and so we need to make a notch for the corners. This is just it's a fast and easy way, it's the accurate way to cut from both angles. It's got two saw blades. You'll see the saw blades coming down. That's what we call a pocket hole for screw. So all the bottom get those holes, and then we glue it. This machine allows us to do very accurate drilling, and then they can move those back and forth according to what cabinet we have. So what he's doing now is he's moving it to a bookcase step. Once he steps on the pedal, the drills come from underneath, and they have to make a full cycle before the bits can go back down. That way we don't have halfway drilled holes. He just steps on the pedal and it does its thing. Sander is more of a final finish sander. We work with the panels and getting holes and drilled and all that. And then once we're done, this allows us to kind of just finish it up so we don't have as much hand sanding, because we think this is a much better finish than when you're doing everything by hand. Okay, so she's gonna run it through here, and it'll make that little groove to put the panel in the bottom. So this is how it looks when we start out with the door, making a door. Sometimes we get a little wider when we eat too much wood. Will get wider as it gets more moisture. So it really depends on where a customer lives, how their humidity level is. So we might send some pieces out to Wyoming, very low humidity. It tends to shrink from where we're at. And then we send it to a climate where it's higher humidity, or even some kind, like in the springtime when it's more rain and the houses are a little bit more. And that puts the glue on, and we let it back down. We feel like this is a better way to do it because every coat of the wood is absorbed in glue. If we would take this thing and just put some glue on, not everything would get wet. Now, we're gonna put it in the door, what we call the door. I'm gonna do the routing, take a little dust fly. You can lay your drawer front on top of there, and it'll automatically center it. And it's not just by putting it in here. That automatically centers it front to back, side to sides, and then we can also just drill one hole. So they pre-cut everything so that it's ready for the person that's assembling. If you have the really good machinery, you can calculate all that stuff and it should all fit together. If something doesn't fit, then we know that somebody didn't do his part right. It's a chance to correct it before it gets done. But what he's doing is putting the roundover cleats in to allow the shelving. So this is a media stand, and it allows the shelving a raceway for the wiring from shelf to shelf, keep the shelf going all the way to the back. You notice how he takes the screw and he goes in and then back out? That's to keep the wood from busting on him. He's actually kind of pre-drilling your hole. What he's doing here is he's cutting little blocks to use up on the copy and end tables they have. And then they use that to fasten their, like a little pleat that'll get nailed on the inside to allow the slide to be fastened. So they have lift tables in here where they can raise the furniture to the eye level. That's mainly so that they can see better. I don't know if you noticed how she rounded the corner for children not getting their head split on the corner. This piece was actually sanded. He's just double checking the accuracy of the sanding and then taking his own little touch up. What he does is he kind of goes over all the roundovers as well. Just make sure that they're all nice and smooth. And we feel like this is an important part of the process in order to have the piece as perfect as possible for the customer before it goes to the stain shop. The idea is to get this end grain nice and smooth on the doors. So depending on what we're doing, especially in the final finish, sanding, it's easier for us to, by hand, to kind of make little adjustments to the sand, versus if you got a big sander and sometimes it's overpowerful. So that's why we like the little hand sander, but it gives us more flexibility on how good we can sand it. So every piece gets branded unless somebody doesn't want it that way. But it's a hot branding iron, quality handcrafted furniture. In 2002 is when we originally started the business. So this is to protect the piece from water, moisture, to ship it to the finish shop where it gets its stain and varnish. And then after that, they're going to do blanket wrapping after that, because once it's stained and varnished, that kind of keeps the moisture of the wood. And at this point, the wood is still unvarnished and it's susceptible to moisture, humidity. And so we try to wrap it just to keep it from changing that. And it also, the other thing is when wood is in a high humidity, like we can sand this, make it nice and smooth. But if you leave this unwrapped for a week in a high humidity building, the pores will open up and it'll get rough. And so you have to do the sanding again. Now I'm gonna do cutting, so. We're making the bow end to the top.
From desks and bookcases to end tables and TV stands, every piece is handcrafted here and sent to Cabinfield customers across the country. Thank you for joining us today. Subscribe to our channel for more behind-the-scenes Amish workshop tours.